Alrighty, daily recap for Friday. Um, yeah, what happened? Well, yesterday we failed to actually take out the daily external. Today we finished that job. That's basically as simple as you can make it. Um, Overnight we retraced and we had this 4 hour gap. ES tapped it. Actually, no, because it tapped it only after all the moves. So, yeah, but like we had let's maybe not frame it off the 4 hour gap. Anyway, um, we had that sell off. We had the daily external down here with basically a relative equal low that we put in yesterday. Overnight, we had retraced. And then going into New York, we were kind of right around where the mouse is. And at the open, we just went down to take the external. From there, we got a big retrace. Kind of off the SMT that ES lacked the same sell off to previous day low, right? Like ES didn't take previous day low and Q obviously did. So we had some sort of SMT there. We got a reversal into the hourly gap, and we actually once again, kind of like yesterday with that hourly gap that I was looking for here, except this time we actually respect it and deliver it. So yeah, but overall, I mean, similar kind of framework to yesterday where you have just like an instant sell off and then we get a big retrace and then we get another continuation of shorts. Now, setup wise, today was a little, or yesterday at the time. Anyway, Friday, let's just say Friday. That's easier because I'm not actually recording this on Friday. But Friday was a little rough setup wise. There was a potential short here where at 9:45, ES traded above 9:30 highs and Q didn't, right? And we still had this daily external down here that we were looking for. So there was an opportunity for a con framework. It actually formed, it just never filled. Unfortunate. Then we actually had a long setup down here at in also the 950 macro for this kind of retrace 15 minute that you see here. Then we put in lower lows. And then you would think maybe 1050 reversal. We had SMT. We didn't really have a breaker if I remember correctly. Anyway, price delivers higher, higher, higher. And then at 1150, again, you could think, okay, we put in the reversal here inside that hourly gap in a macro, but it just doesn't quite work out that way setup wise, unfortunately. And then almost 1250, we get this hourly, this 50-minute FVG continuation, but not quite. Also, I don't think there was any SMT, but even if there was, once again, this was then out of macro. So yeah, kind of rough getting into it. Like the first setup would have been, right, we had SMT from here to here, basically, and then we had a bearish breaker right here. And the external, which was the daily external, was here. And I was basically going into this saying, I break even at the external, and then we'll see what happens if I can get the fill before we hit the external. But obviously, that doesn't end up happening. So that setup goes. Let me bring these things back. Obviously, we purge the external with that SMT as well. Then we get consecutive candle SMT with YM at the 10 a.m. open. And we get this bullish breaker right here, which actually does play out, right? But I didn't take this. And the reason I didn't take this is just, I feel like oftentimes these little flimsy 1 minute breakers off of the high time frame move, kind of off of a higher time frame move, like chances are the first breaker, especially after a big delivery like this, where it's not like just a small Judas swing into something, like it's actual 300 point sell-offs, it tends to fail. Now in this case, obviously it didn't. Add to that, we also were rejecting this 5 minute FEG that we had left kind of on this displacement through the daily external. So like there were a few reasons for this. And overall, I just expected another leg lower before we go higher. Now, was I right about that another leg lower? Yes. right? But was I still wrong about the setup delivering? Yeah. Which, that kind of sucks, but that's just how it goes sometimes. The uh, discretion was off on this one. So yeah, that was that. And then, as I mentioned, 1050. The only kind of breaker we had was like this. Whoops, not that, but like this. But we closed above 1046, and also this I wasn't really looking for as a breaker. And then this, while valid, is a 82-point breaker. So not quite what we're looking for. Now you could argue I could have done the 60-point idea. I could have, yeah. I just, honestly, this SMR didn't seem very convincing to me. Maybe in hindsight, you could say that was a bad decision by me, but yeah, I think coming off the end of a bad week here, I was a little, I don't know, like the performance just wasn't as great. Like, honestly, this is pretty good SMT, and the setup's actually pretty good too, now that I'm looking at this in hindsight. And had I just taken this off the FVG, the risk would have been somewhat decent too, and I could have targeted 2R from the FVG, and we actually would have had a great position here. So that sucks now in hindsight. Could have taken this and then this, and we would have actually had a 4R day, and unlucky to not have more, as the short here didn't fill. But then from there on out, we did have another close above here of this 1 minute. There was no SMT on this. Again, I guess this should have just been it. The consolidation down here kind of threw me, and the big stop was kind of what initially made me discount this. I didn't even think that maybe I could go for the FVG play. Usually this kind of like short and stop FVG type approach is something, or not even FVG, but just like a smaller stop and looking to kind of get in with a cheeky fill, is something I kind of do to force trades that I'm like 100% sure would hit either way. And with this trade, I just didn't see the framework. Now, honestly, having said that, the fact that we had this hourly internal here ready to form, knowing that, I could have anticipated that we do get a retrace, also end of the week type shit. But yeah, whatever. Let's look past that now. It's too late to change. Good thing I noticed it, actually, but yeah. And then this kind of reversal here, as I mentioned, was actually pretty clean. I'm not sure if there was SMT. I was kind of looking to frame a reversal whole time here. Like, I had this marked out ready to enter if we got displacement, then I had this marked out ready to enter if we get displacement, but we ended up getting the change in the state, right after the macro. And then from there, yeah, unfortunate, because like this was literally a breaker that I actually was looking at. I already had it marked out. I had my limit ready, right? The limit price ready to go and everything. But yeah, we just deliver after, right? And obviously this would have ended up hitting 2R. Probably also if we closed 3 minutes earlier. More than that though, it actually would have ended up technically giving a 7R move into the hourly external. So there's that. I think this Friday definitely had a lot more potential than I let it to be. Than I let it have, I guess, in real time. Again, like I just didn't take any trades, break even. Which, yeah, now in hindsight, I think was pretty bad. Obviously, this short that I have marked out here is just invalid per the model. So, like, even though this is very clean and this was what I was looking for, that's just unfortunate. Yeah, at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like, yeah. The short here that I, was going to take doesn't get filled. The short here that I was going to take closes too late for me to still take it, but it's still delivers, and I feel like it's also just like a little unlucky. And I've had a few days this week, I think also Monday or Tuesday or something, where there were like two great setups that just never filled and just ran higher without retracing to the breaker. So it's like, while I had a pretty bad week and also my performance wasn't great, especially now seeing as today basically I missed out on two setups. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think like even though all that was pretty bad, I do still have to say I did get a little unlucky, man. Because like if these trades that offered kind of the framework and the setup just fill the breaker, like this one closed a bit earlier, and then the two on Tuesday, the two longs that I was looking at, like that would still end up being 8R right on top of the result of the week, which then I think was like -3 maybe, or -4 even. Like it was a pretty bad week, but if you put 8R on top, it's a pretty good week, or at least a decent week, right? I mean, it wasn't a pretty bad week. It was a pretty terrible week, to be fair. Yeah. Anyway, now it's Monday now, but yeah. I mean, the top step accounts are looking pretty daft. No, but they're at 1700 now, which obviously is a little annoying. But yeah, down 3R last week. Could have brought that back on Friday now that I've seen two setups that I could have taken. But yeah, I think the main thing is this week we just execute the model properly, and whatever happens, happens, right? Like I think, because at the end of the day, usually I get in my head about the model and blah, 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 but then every time at the end of the week when I look at it, it's like, okay, had I just kept at it and executed properly, I would have ended up like up 5R. Like that's almost every losing week feels like that. So it's like, yeah, maybe just do that and we'll be good. So yeah, that's the recap. I did, however, take a trade on Lucid. I actually took two trades. Actually took three trades. I initially shorted this 1 minute breaker here on some hope shorts. Got stopped out, and then I shorted this order block. Delivered like a lot of R. Then I tried another short somewhere in this hourly like internal, and that also didn't work out, but I ended the day up like 500 because this short here really hit. I like also wrote it down all the way to the external, so like down till here, so like this kind of move. So those accounts are back over 5200 and kind of close to passing, so that's at least, you know, thumbs up. But yeah, let's see, maybe this week we can bring our accounts back over 2K and we can pass the Lucid accounts, and then we'd actually end up ending July off, you know, overall with a win, break even on the expresses, and passing the combines. That'd be kind of cool, huh? So yeah, that's that, and yeah.